In brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light. Hey there, welcome back, and it's time once again for the Golden Age DC Comics 365 Days, where I take this much beloved hardcover coffee table book given to me by one of my best friends about 2 decades ago. It's been surfing my coffee table ever since, and I found it to be an excellent source of comic book shop style conversations. Remember those ones we used to have back at our local comics stores, our local comics shops? Yeah, what I do is I take this book for its intended purpose, I crack it open to today's date. We look at the art, we read the blurb, and then we talk about comic books for a few minutes. And we talk about comic books for a few minutes every day and for the rest of the year. Yeah, tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern. That's when the show comes on. That's right. So let's crack the book open. This is an Abrams. Let's see, Abrams. Yeah, and 10 cents was it. Here we go. Yeah. Superman DC publication, 10 cents. And, yeah, it's an Abrams 2004 hardcover coffee table book. And what goes great with a coffee table, and a coffee table book, and coffee table talk has to be freshly brewed, delicious coffee. Indeed. With the spoon. How are you today? I hope you're doing great. Seriously, I mean, if you can, crack open a comic book and transport yourself into a different world and leave this world's problems behind and all of its worry and just get caught up in an adventure story. Something transportative, if that's a real word. to spirit you away. That's the word. To be spirited away, and with a book as your vehicle. And thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get to it. The Golden Age DC Comics runs between 1938 and 1955. The Silver Age begins in 1956 and runs until 1970. The Bronze Age, I'm a Bronze Age baby, runs between 1970 and 1985. And I believe there to be a Copper Age starting in 1985. I think it ends in 2000, and that's a good discussion waiting to happen. But let's focus on the Golden Age. Let's get to today. Today is May the 11th. Hello, May 11th. Yeah, this is art by Sheldon Moldoff from the cover of All-Star Comics number 17 from August of 1940. Let's read the blurb. Let's look at the art real quick. It's our old friend, Alan Scott, the Green Lantern. All right. We're going to talk about Green Lantern today. Did you figure that out? All right. While most young comic book artists were feeling their way with simple and even crude styles, Sheldon Moldoff was more ambitious. Some historians have suggested that his dramatic and detailed renderings were based on his study of successful newspaper strips like Alex Raymond's Flash Gordon and Hal Foster's Prince Valiant. Prince Valiant ran a long time. But regardless, his work stood out. This cover rendition of a climactic fight is repeated inside by series originator Martin Nodell. But despite similar poses, the effect is considerably diminished. Let's look at that again. Mind the spine. Ironically, see the bound spine on this. So it's been this photograph of the comic book. The comic book was preserved somehow, because these things they'll fall apart. They're, subject to decay, are all component things. Strive earnestly for your own salvation. That was the Buddha's last words. Either that or, friggin' mushrooms. You decide. But yeah, this is our art today. This is Alan Scott, the original first Green Lantern. He's grabbing him by the neck. Oh, wow. And flying down a set of stairs. And my fingers were obscuring the guy's face there, That's great. Not much going on today, except for talking about Green Lantern, I guess. And that's why we started off with the Silver Age Green Lantern's oath and motto. This was made for me by a very good friend about 25 years ago, Matthew Ford Sylvia. And this is a piece of sterling silver with some green enamel, I guess. And he crafted it himself. He did it by hand. He asked to borrow a comic book, and this is what he gave me back. This is literally unique because it is based upon Hal Jordan's signet ring stuff. He says every other Green Lantern seems to have a big exaggerated kind of Green Lantern logo on their hand, but Hal's, that which also protects the wearer from mortal harm. That's an old Silver Bronze Age conceit, and its weakness is to the color yellow. But Hal's ring was a signet ring, so this is a replica of that ring. And my own personal kind of headcanon, what I believe is, after 2 decades of service, this ring would look authentic to the condition, if it wasn't perpetually, self-healing and looking smooth. I would keep the dings and the scratches that it's earned, solving problems and punching bad guys all this time, doing its job. But that's Alan Scott, the Green Lantern. We're going to read from the wiki real quick, kids. Martin Nodell, initially using the pen name Mart Dellen, created the first Green Lantern in collaboration with Bill Finger, the co-creator of Batman with Bill Kane. He first appeared in the Golden Age of comic books in All American Comics, number 16, July of 1940. One of 3 companies that would published by All American Publications. One of 3 companies that would eventually merge to form DC Comics. These are the things you learn by reading. Yeah. Alan Scott was a railroad engineer who, after a railway crash, came into a possession of a magic lantern, which spoke to him and said it would bring him power. From this, he crafted a magic ring, which gave him a wide variety of powers. The limitations of the ring were that it had to be charged every 24 hours by touching it to the lantern for a time. Interesting. It predicted batteries, like these ion lithium batteries that rule our lives. We used to think that having it's Dell's coffee and it's yeah. Hey Jay, you're always in my back pocket. You can consider yourself a butt cheek. I am being cheeky. I made a crack. I'm cracking myself up. But yeah, these handheld battery devices. Yeah, we're still slaves to a cord. That's irony, huh? Wah wah wah. Ha ha. Funny, huh? I am a huge Green Lantern fan. I have been since the Super Friends days, and it's been just what a great tool for imagination, and all the different Green Lanterns that have come since Alan Scott, and it started something huge that goes on until today. It's been 82 years since the premiere of the first Green Lantern, and it's an American mythology, and it's a great adventure story, and there's a lot going on to it, and it in the Silver Age it really found what we consider today. So it's one of those examples where the reboot improved on the original. There was always room for the original, and there was always a fondness for Alan Scott, and it's always been great to bring Alan Scott along in the great grand voyage of the Green Lantern story. And but it grew bigger than Alan Scott. It's as big as the galaxy. It's as big as the multiverse, and it's as big as our imaginations, which we can form anything with this ring that we can imagine. It's a really interesting superpower, and that it has weaknesses and limitations that need to be respected. It's not an all-powerful totem. It's not meant to be all powerful. No, but it's meant to be powerful, yes, and solve problems. Yet the color yellow, which was a weird conceit, and that too was fleshed out. I mean, it started way back in the Golden Age that Alan Scott's ring had a weakness to wood. That's a great little thing. Why not? And eventually you would have the K material that premiered in the Superman radio show that came over to the comic books. The K substance from the planet Krypton, that Superman had a weakness to its radioactivity. And what did that become? Kryptonite. So the idea of a kryptonite. And here's an idea that came upon us of a retcon as well. Now, after 1985's Crisis on Infinite Earths, there was an issue of Tales of the Green Lantern Corps, and it retconned retroactive continuity, meaning going back in time and changing the story to make things fit for modern storytelling. So the modern stories the story that you're telling right now can make more sense if you as the writer can go back in time and say, no, this really happened. Or is it the unreliable narrator of Barry Lyndon, something like that. But it was revealed that there was another Green Lantern on Earth before Alan Scott that was part of the Green Lantern Corps. And their name was Yalan Gura, a resident of China. Now, not only had the Corps' now familiar green, black, and white uniform motif not yet been adopted, but Yalan Gura altered the basic red uniform to look more closely to remember the style of clothing worn by his countrymen. Ultimately, the power corrupted this early Green Lantern as he attempted to rule over mankind, which forced the Guardians of the Guardians of Oa, the little blue guys that are the overseers of the central power battery, the administrators of the Green Lantern Corps, which forced the Guardians to cause his ring to manifest a weakness to wood, the material from which most Earth weapons of the time were fashioned. This allowed the Chinese peasants to ultimately defeat their corrupted champion. His ring and lantern were burned, and over time it was found later in time by Alan Scott after his train crash, and that's a retcon, and also it explains the weakness to wood. And yeah, huh? That's comic books for you. And thank you so much for tuning in. And this has been today, May 11th, in the golden age of DC Comics, 365 days, where we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and we'll find out who we're talking about when we turn the page tomorrow. Like and subscribe. I make daily content. I'm a professional chef. We have cooking videos here. What's cooking? It's in a playlist. I'm a spiritual dude, an amateur theologian, an ordained minister. We get spiritual here. Hashtag lighten up. We're talking about enlightenment here and how spirituality can improve the quality of your daily life. Tune in here. And thank you so much. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. And we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.